Welcome to the Linux Terminal course. Linux is used by over 1 billion devices. If you work in technology or IT, you don't want to be left behind. The Linux operating system is used by the world's biggest companies: Google, Facebook, Twitter, almost all of the world's web servers, 90% of the world's supercomputers, and nearly all electronic devices. On day 1, you'll learn how to gain access to a Linux terminal. If you want to install Linux on your own, don't worry, you'll learn how to do that too. You'll start out day 2 by learning how to navigate a Linux file system. You'll get an introduction to the most essential and commonly used commands. You'll also learn how to search for a file and explore disk queues. On day 3, you'll learn how to manage processes. We'll also cover terminating unresponsive processes as well as process interfaces. On day 4, you'll learn data manipulation. You'll learn how to handle large files, how to use the most commonly used text editors, and you'll even learn how to use operators such as redirect and pipe. On day 5, we'll explore software packages. You'll get an introduction to apt-get, and you'll tackle archives such as tar and tar-gz. On day 6, you'll learn how to add users, change passwords, and you'll even learn how to get superpowers on a Linux system. Finally, you'll learn a few bonus tricks. What is Linux? By default, the computer doesn't do anything. It has all kind of hardware like a screen, a keyboard, but by default it doesn't do anything. It needs a piece of software called an operating system. An operating system is the product that connects the hardware, software, and you, the user. It takes care of all the communication of the hardware components that a computer consists of and makes you be able to run programs. So all this essential basic functionality for a computer to work. Well-known operating systems are Microsoft Windows or Apple Mac that you are perhaps using now. In the last 25 years, Linux-based operating systems start to develop. Linux is only the core of an operating system. It is the core and the core only. It's not a complete system, so Linux is always part of a complete system which contains all kind of programs like a word processor, a paint program, a web browser, computer games, and so on. There are hundreds of operating systems with the Linux software inside, including Ubuntu Linux, Linux Mint, Debian Linux, Slackware Linux, and more famously known Google Android. So all of these systems, they are similar to one extent or another, but all of them have the component inside which communicate with the hardware and software called Linux. For this course, you will only need a terminal. It does not matter which Linux-based operating system you use. There are several ways to get access to a Linux system. One of the methods is using a web simulator. To use that, we simply visit the website, and the only requirement is that you have a computer with internet access. Please bear in mind that the simulator runs a simulation, so it's not the real thing and not all of the commands will work. But, however, it's a quick way to get started. If you have an Android device such as a phone or a tablet, you can access a Linux terminal. Now, bear in mind that also an Android device is heavily locked down by default, so not all of the commands will work. The third way to get an access to Linux is using a program called VirtualBox. VirtualBox allows you to run a virtual computer on your computer. To run VirtualBox, you need a desktop computer. So by default you'd have an Intel or AMD processor with at least 512 megabytes of RAM. Probably more. You need a few gigabytes of disk space and a supported computer system. So all of the Windows versions from 2000 to Microsoft Windows 8 are supported, as well as Apple Macintosh OS X. So if you want more details, visit virtualbox.org. And finally, the old-fashioned way is simply to get a Linux CD or a Linux disk. You can get a Linux Live CD and put it in the computer and Linux will start. So this, once started, you have the choice to run it in memory. So you can directly use the Linux system after inserting the CD, or you can install it. Now if you choose to run it from memory, you won't be able to damage your computer, and so you can really play around with the system without making any damage. Now live CDs or Linux CDs can be ordered online. So if you search for Ubuntu CD or Linux Mint CD, you can order such a CD directly in your mailbox and you put it in the computer and Linux will start. So that's a Ubuntu or Linux Mint. There are several other Linux systems, but these are the most famous. And you can also download such a CD yourself. So to create it yourself by going to one of these Linux sites like ubuntu.com, and you download it and burn it onto a CD. If you've never used Linux before, you can either choose to install Linux or to use emulator online. So for example, if you go to bayard.org/jslinux, you'll see a Linux computer starting right in your web browser. So that's this URL, bayard.org/jslinux, and you can type commands from here. Note that this is an emulator, so you won't be able to do everything you could normally do on a Linux machine. Now, if you have an Android device, such as a tablet or a phone, you can also go to the Google Play Store and search for Terminal Emulator, because inside every Android device, Linux is running. So you can use Linux command line inside any Android device. So just search for Terminal Emulator, and you'll see there's quite a few apps to use Linux command line inside your Android phone or tablet. This is the website of Ubuntu Linux. So www.ubuntu.com. We have the option download. You can select desktop and press download once again. Now they'll come with some interview questions, but you can skip that. So press not now and select download now. You'll see it automatically starts to download for a 64-bit processor. Now if you don't have a 64-bit processor, you can go to the URL on top here and change it to i386, which is a 30-bit processor. So if you go to that page and press download, you'll see it starts to download the 32-bit version. So we do that just by changing the link and the last part into i386, which is short for a 30-bit processor. So once press save, press OK. So if you have a 64-bit machine, you don't need to change the URL obviously, but in case you do have, now it will start downloading. Go to the website virtualbox.org, so this website, and this program you can use to run any operating system inside an app. So that you can try the Linux system without actually changing your actual operating system, so you can actually not break your system. Of course, the alternative is just to buy a Linux live CD, so buy a disk from ubuntu.org.com or any Linux distribution site, and just buy the CD and put it in the computer and start Linux. However, VirtualBox is an alternative. So if you go to the virtualbox.org website and you press download, you can download the VirtualBox app for free. So you can select Windows. If you have an Apple computer, you can check this one. And if you select that one, you see you can just press save and run the installation program. And then we'll continue to make a virtual image, so which is actually a virtual computer image. And we can run the Linux system inside the VirtualBox app. Can run Ubuntu on a virtual machine. We've started VirtualBox. We need to create a virtual machine. So go to New, the left corner here. Type Ubuntu. You see it automatically selects the configuration. In this case it's a 32-bit machine. So I'm going to select 32-bit Ubuntu. Create virtual hard disk. Press create. Just press create again. So you see it's created the image. Now we need to insert the CD or the USB drive. So press settings. Select storage. Notice that our CD drive is empty. Press the little plus here. Choose disk. And select Ubuntu 16 and your processor version. Now press OK. If we press start, it will start the computer, the virtual computer, with the Ubuntu system inserted. So you see it's starting the computer right now. See, it will start the Ubuntu system directly of the CD medium, which is a virtual CD. And you enter directly the installation screen. So just wait a little bit longer for it to appear. Inside the installation screen, you can either choose to install it or to try the Linux operating system directly from the CD or USB drive. Notice it's starting the graphical environment. So it might take a second or two to really boot up, to really start. Now, you have the option to install Ubuntu or to try it. Press install, and this will start the installation process for Ubuntu. Now I recommend that you have a computer targeted just to install Ubuntu. So it might take a moment to load. Now we can select our language, press continue. You may want to download updates and third-party graphics while installing. So if you select those will be installed. Press continue. Now you have several options because you can install Ubuntu next to another operating system such as Windows. In case you do that, you could lose your Windows installation. It could go wrong and you could lose all your data. So I recommend having a dedicated computer to install Ubuntu or to do it in VirtualBox. So in case you have an empty disk or use VirtualBox, you can just select erase disk and install Ubuntu and press install. Press continue. Select your location on the world. It's just for the time zone, such that the system shows the correct time. Now select your keyboard layout. In my case I always need this one, but depending on your keyboard layout you might need a different one. And finally you will need to select a username and password. So I'm just going to name it Ubuntu with passport Ubuntu. You have an option to encrypt your home folder. So if you don't know what it is, just leave it open for now and press continue. Now it will just start automatically installing the Ubuntu system. And once the installation is complete, you can restart the system. Every file is stored in a folder or directory. To show the current directory, type the command pwd. It will show us the current directory. So press enter. It will tell us we're in the directory /home/ubuntu inside this directory. If you have another username or other Linux distribution, it will tell /home/something else. We can also navigate to and through directories. Right now we're in the directory /home/Ubuntu. To go inside another directory, let's say documents, we type the command cd, which is an acronym for change directory, and we'll type documents. If we type the command pwd, which shows the current directory, it'll tell us we are in /home/Ubuntu/documents. To return to the previous directory, type cd ... Now we are back in the directory we were in the beginning, /home/Ubuntu. To go inside the music directory, type cd music and pwd to check we're inside the music directory. To return, cd ... You can type pwd again to see we're in /home/Ubuntu. In the previous lectures we learned how to browse the file system, but so far we haven't been able to list the files inside them. Right now we're in /home/Ubuntu, and from the file explorer you'll see there's quite a few directories and files inside. If you type the command ls, which is short for list, you'll see the same files as in the file explorer. There's a one-to-one match because we're in the same directory. If you are using Ubuntu, you'll see that we don't see the directory, it only says home on top. It's only if you use Ubuntu. So if you press on the white area and press the Ctrl key and the L key, it will show the full path. Again, this is only for Ubuntu Linux, so the other Linux distributions don't have this. So you'll see we're in the same directory in the console as well as in the GUI. We can also show the data as a list, so type ls -al, and you'll see all the details, such as when the file is created, who created the file, the group that the user belongs to, so all kind of information. And we'll also see several other files which have a dot in front, which means they're hidden files. If you go here and press view, show hidden files, you'll see there's quite a few hidden files, so there's more files than you initially saw in the Explorer. All of the files with a dot in front of them are hidden files, so they're not shown by default. We can navigate to any directory, so let's go to /home/home directory. Go to computer, home. From here we'll type cd /home/. So now we're in the home directory. Type the list commands, and now you'll see the directories of users. So there's only one user called Ubuntu. Type ls -al, and you'll see the same in a list format. In this lecture we'll show you how to get information about files. To get information about files, we first need to have some files. Let's open the directory which contains wallpapers. From the File Explorer, if you haven't started, you can press on the Files command. We are in the File Explorer, so press the Ctrl key and the L key so that we can type a path or directory. Press the backspace key to clear it, and then type /user/share/backgrounds. And you find here all these backgrounds, all kind of pictures inside this directory. From the shell we can do the same thing, so type /user/share/backgrounds. We can list the files, So you see all these files here, all these images. And if we type the command file and then any file name, so I'm going to type X and tab, which types the whole file name. So if you press the tab key, it auto-completes. If I press enter, it'll tell us information about this particular file. In this case, it's an image file of this size and stored as a file format called PNG. We can do the same things for other files. So if we type file, let's say we'll pick the Spring by Peter file. So type S and press the tab key to autocomplete the file name. Press enter. Now you'll see information about this file. It's not the same format, so this is called a JPEG file. And it will show us some more information, such as the date time. The resolution is a bit higher than the other image. You can do this command for any file, so you can find the creation dates and find any kind of information about the file. We can also make new directories. So if we type the list command, and you see all these directories, we can show the same thing in the File Explorer, create a directory, and you'll see untitled folder being created. So we can do the same thing from the terminal. So open up a terminal or shell. We will type the command mkdir space directory name. So this will create the actual directory. Press enter to create it. You'll see the directory has been created once we type this command. To remove a directory or remove a file, we use the rm command. So if you type rm space -r, you can type any directory name, it will remove that. So we're just going to remove the Udemy directory, which is shown in the Explorer here. Press enter, and it's been deleted. I do not recommend deleting any of the default folders such as pictures or documents. Using the rm command, you can delete files and folders. Let's create a text file. So you can use any text editor from the GUI, or you can use Nano from the command line. So I'm just using the graphical editor here. So type some text in your text file. In the GUI editor, press File, Save As, Example.txt, or otherwise press Ctrl-O to save it in the command line text editor. Save it as example.txt. Save it inside the home directory. So if you would list the files, if you would type the ls commands, you would see the file appear. It will show you that example.txt is inside the directory. If you want to show the contents of the text file, you can type the command cat space your file name. Press enter and you'll see the actual file contents right in the terminal. We can also use the terminal to copy files. So you'll see we have example.txt. Let's copy this file using the terminal. We type the command cp, short for copy. We have to specify the file to be copied and the file to be copied to, so the destination. Let's say the source is example.txt and the destination example2.txt. You'll see another file pop up that we just copied. You can copy a file into anywhere on the system, so for example the documents directory. Let's copy the file to that directory. So type /home/ubuntu/documents. If you press enter, you'll see the file is copied inside the documents directory. We've got a bunch of text files here. Now, let's say we want to rename one. We can simply use the command mv or move. Type mv and your file name, as well as the new name of the file. You can check you're in the right directory with pwd. mv can be used to rename a file. Type the file you want to rename. Then type the destination. So it's mv space source space destination. So first the file name and then the new file name. If you want, you can also explicitly define the path. /home/ubuntu /home/ubuntu/documents. In this case the document doesn't exist anymore. So let's say example 2. So specifying the full path works as well, but you don't always need to type that if you just use the same directory. However, if the file is not in the same directory, you'll need to specify the full path. So you see we're in /home/ubuntu. There's a file in /home/ubuntu/documents. Press the Ctrl and the L key to list those. And there's a file here and we can rename it from the home Ubuntu directory. Type example 2. If we press enter, the file will be renamed, but we're in /home/ubuntu and not /home/ubuntu/documents. So you can also rename files not in the same directory. Now the alternative to this is changing your directory using the cd commands. So you can choose whether you want to change directory and rename or rename directly from the location you're inside. We can see the amount of disk space using the command df. So if we type df enter, you'll find all kind of drives and it shows the disk space as well. The slash is the main drive. In this case it's 67%, and you also see the amount of free space. So slash is your main drive and the others could be other drives like USB or external drives. So the mount point is always slash. The information shown may not always be clear enough. Sometimes you want more detailed information, like where the disk space is used. The command du -hs, your directory, and it will show you more detailed information. So how much is used in each directory, which sometimes is very useful if you want to know where the disk space is used. Of course, you can go very specific and specify certain directories, so it's a more detailed overview with this command. Sometimes you want to search files on the system. You can do so with the find command. To use it, you have to specify the directory to search in. So I'm going to type /home/ubuntu. Type the name you want to search for. So let's say we are searching for one of the text files we created earlier. That instantly finds a text file in the documents directory. That one here. Let's say we search for an image which has the JPEG extension. Let's say we will search for an image file in JPEG. So specify the star and JPEG, which is any image file in the JPEG data format. Let's search this in another directory. Let's say /user/share. It'll find lots of JPEGs, images in the user share directory. And it just keeps searching for more. It tells us the explicit path. So there's all kind of images in this directory. All kind of image in the format JPEG. So these are actually images used by the desktop, like wallpapers and stuff. So let's search for a text file instead. You'll see there's quite a few text files on the system as well. Let's say you want to search for something more specific. Let's say we want to search for a file that has clock in the name. So this will return all the files related to the word clock. So you'll find quite a few files in there. We can specify that it should be of the type text, so a text file. And this will return there's no documents. So this is how you search for specific files like text files or images and so on. This one will search for the exact file, but you can use the star symbol to specify that it should be something like that file name. So you could specify you want text file starting with a T, or you can use different kind of searches. We can echo output using the echo command. So let's say echo hello world, and it will display that text. Notice we have our home directory here. We can directly save anything to a file. So let's do an example. Write the redirect operator, which is the greater than symbol, and write output.txt. You'll see a file has instantly been created, and if you open the file, you will actually see the same contents, so the hello world text. So what happens is that we use the redirect operator, which saves the output into the file. So we can save any command output, let's say ls, to files.txt. Files.txt has been created, and the file contains the output of the command ls. So we can save the output or any text directly into a file using the redirect operator or greater than operator. We can save the output of any command, so there's no limit to that. Any output you want to save just by using the redirect operator. So you can also save the calendar or whatever you want. Let's go into the pipe operator. So if we type any command, let's say ls-al, we will see all files in the current directory, which is quite a lot. And notice we have to scroll. So with the pipe operator, we can redirect the output and give it as input to another program. This will just capture the output, and another program could be the program less, which shows less information on the screen. So if we press enter, you'll see we can see the top part of the output, and if you press space it goes down in the list. So that's ls-al and then the pipe and less. Now you can forward it to any program. For example, you could forward it to the program grep and say we're looking for videos. So it'll just show the videos. So what it does is it forwards the output, and we can use then a program to manipulate the data. In this lecture you'll learn about environment variables. If you type the command echo space $user, you'll see your username appear. If you type echo space $home, you'll see your home directory appear. And so there are more commands like this. So where is this data coming from? These are so-called environment variables. If you type the env command, you can see all of them. There are quite a lot of environment variables that you can use directly in your commands. So you can use this information or data in any command using the $sign and then the name. They can be used in any directory. Currently we are in the home directory, but let's say we go to downloads. You'll see we are in the downloads directory. We can go back into the home directory using echo space $sign home. Or we can move directly in it. So notice we are in home Ubuntu downloads, can type cd $sign home, and we're back in /home/Ubuntu. So we can do this from any directory, simply use the environment variables to navigate in the file system. Environment variables can be used anywhere. So in this directory, for example, to go back to the home directory, we can just type cd space $sign home. These are environment variables, so if you want to see a list of them, type env and press enter. If you have a large file, for example, the system log file, you see we have a very large file here. So to output everything would take a lot of space on the screen. Now if you just want to show the top of the file, you can use the head command. Let's say head space -n space 3. This will output the first 3 lines of the file. Pick any number you want to see the first X amount of lines. In this example I specified 10, so these are the first 10 lines of the file var log syslog. To instead show the bottom lines, so from bottom up, we can use the tail command. Type tail space -n space file name. That will output the lines from bottom up. So tail does bottom up and head does top down, but both show a part of the file. So that's the difference between head and tail. The top half would be this output. To output the bottom 3 lines, you will type this. So both head and tail do the same, but tail is bottom up and head is top down. Open a terminal and create a text file. So I've made this one containing a list of animals. If we type command cat space animals.txt, so you'll see the file contents listed. So this will just output the file contents, but not in alphabetic order. To show it in alphabetic order, we can just type sort. Type the command sort space animals.txt. It'll output all of the animals in a sorted order. There's one space in there, which is a new line. Just remove the empty line if you have that. The sort command sorts all of the data in alphabetic order. So you can take any file and sort it in alphabetic order. To show it in reverse order, type -r. That shows the content in reverse order. We can also forward it using the redirect operator that you've seen before, so we can save the contents to a file. So we will create a file called animalssorted.txt and combine it with the sort command. So we take the sort output and forward it directly into a file using the redirect operator. Press enter, you'll see the file has been created with all of the animals in alphabetic order. We can edit any text file directly from the command line. There are several text editors for the command line and Nano is one of them. To start a Nano text editor, type nano space your file name, so the file you want to edit, and press enter. I'll call it example.txt. So once you start it, you'll see it's a very basic editor. It looks quite old, if you will. but it has all the functionality of a text editor, so you can search, open, save, and so on. So type your text and press the Ctrl key and the O key to save it. So that's the Ctrl key and the O key. That will save the file. You'll see the file has been created on the file system, so the text file we just made, and press the Ctrl key and the X key to quit. So the Ctrl key and the X key will quit the program. To reopen, just type nano space file name again. So that's how you can open and save files, as well as how you can create new ones. So let's create another one. We'll create the file udemy.txt. We'll press the Ctrl key and O key to save, and the Ctrl key and the X key to quit. Now you'll see udemy.txt has been created. Nano is just one of the editors. It was first created in 1999, so it's quite an old editor, and you'll see it's very text-based. Another text editor is called Emacs. Emacs has more features compared to the Nano text editor. It has a steeper learning curve, but more features. To start it, just type Emacs and in your file name press enter. I'll just call it example2.txt. So type the text you want to have inside the file name. Press the Ctrl key and the S key to save the file. And press the Ctrl key and the X key to quit. So you'll see it created the file and we can open it. So let's open it with the graphical editor and you'll see the same contents. Ctrl X, Ctrl Z to quit. So that's Ctrl X, Ctrl Z to quit and Ctrl X, Ctrl S to save. To open the file, press Emacs space file name and press enter. So Ctrl X, Ctrl Z will close the program again. From the shell we can see the number of running processes or programs as well as which are running. To do so, type the command ps space minus capital A. So that's ps minus A and press enter. Now you'll see all the processes running on your Linux computer. And on the left you see the program ID or process ID. Every program has a unique identifier or ID. For example, we've got Firefox running, which has the unique ID as 7015. The IDs are always different when you start a program, so it never stays the same number. If you would start Firefox, you would see a different ID, but the principle would remain the same, so the same commands. If you start another program, let's say we start the program Rhythmbox, which is a multimedia application, so music player. The program takes a second to load. Once it's started, we can list the programs again using ps-a. So you'll see Rhythmbox is there, Firefox, and several other programs that are running in the background. So in this case you have Rhythmbox with ID 7127 and Firefox with the ID 7015. You'll see a lot of the programs are running, so you've got a file manager running, an indicator, which are those on the top, and a lot of other programs in the background. Another method to see the running programs is using the program htop. This one gives you an interface, and you can also see the amount of computing use, or like memory and processor. You'll see the number of tasks and the amount of uptime, that is the amount of time the computer has been running. If you double click on the window, it will go to full screen. You'll see all of the programs running as a list, so you can go through the list and search for the program. You'll see, for example, that Firefox is running on this system. That's the one here. There should be Rhythmbox in this list as well, which is this program is running right now. You'll see Rhythmbox on top of the list. You'll see the process ID on the left, as well as the user that started it. You'll see there's several commands on the bottom, so you can either press the keys, so the F keys, or you can just press on it with the mouse. So if you press the F6 key, you'll see you'll be able to sort. So you can sort by the process use or the memory use, and you'll get all the list ordered according to that. You can use your cursor keys to move through it. Press enter and you'll see it's sorted by memory. So in this case Firefox uses much more memory than the other programs. To exit, just press F10 key. If you want to close a specific program, just select it and press the F9 key. Press enter and you'll see Firefox has been closed. So you can close a program just by going to the process and pressing the F9 key. Press enter again and you'll see Rhythmbox has closed. So now we can close and sort programs. We can also give priority to a program using the F7 key, which shows nice. So this will give the priority to the program, so the F7 and F8 keys. A high priority would give more priority by the operating system, so it would run better. There's also a search option here, so if you press the F3 key, you can type your program name and it will find it. Let's search for say Nautilus and you'll see it will appear. We can see the processes using the command ps space -h. You'll see Firefox is running here, just started it. It has a unique process ID, so 7258. If the program is frozen or unresponsive or crashed, you can close it at once using the command kill. Space -9, then type the process ID of Firefox. In this example 7258, but the number will differ on your system. Once you press enter, it will immediately stop the program that has crashed. You'll see it's closed now. You can always do this trick if a program has crashed. On any Linux machine we can get network information. If you type the command ifconfig space -a, you'll see all the devices on your machine, so all network devices, could be wireless, could be cabled. A device that's always there is a loopback device. We've got one network card, but it might be different on your system. You'll see the address of the network card and some other information regarding the network device. To test if we have internet connectivity, we type the ping command, so ping space a website name. I'll type udemy.com and the output shows us if we have network connectivity or not. If you're connected, you'll see 64 bytes received from the internet address of Udemy. And you can check your connection with any website, let's say google.com. So you'll see again the data received. So this is how we can check if we are connected to the internet and which network devices are inside the computer. To check the devices ifconfig -a and to check connectivity, the ping command. We can connect to wireless networks using the command line. To do so, we need to install a program that's not installed by default. The program is called WICD Cursus. Type the command and press yes. This will install the wireless connectivity program. So that will just take a moment to install because it's not a very big program. Once it's installed, you can run it and simply select the wireless network you want to connect to. You can do that directly from the command line. You'll see it's loading. It takes a second or so to really finish the installation. Then we can type WICD curses to start the program. New software can be installed using the apt command. We need to have administrator rights, so type sudo apt-get space install space software name. The sudo command gives us super user authority so that we can add new software to the system. Then we specify the package manager, which is apt-get on Ubuntu. We want it to install. Now htop is just a software program. You can specify any program name. This is the output once you run the command, but you can specify any kind of program to install using the apt-get command. So apt-get space install. Now apt-get works on Ubuntu, Debian and most Linux distributions. We can also remove software from the system, so instead of install just type remove. That is sudo space apt-get space remove space your program. If you press the Y key, it will be removed. So apt-get works on Ubuntu systems, Debian, Linux Mint and several others, but not all of them, so something to keep in mind. So not all Linux systems have the apt-get package manager installed. That is, some Linux distributions use another package manager. A zip file can contain many files and save disk space. We can create zip files on any Linux terminal. Type the command zip space your file name. I'm going to name it squash.zip, and then write all the files you want to add to the zip file. You can put any type of file inside the zip file. That creates the file squash.zip with all the files inside. If you double click it, you see we created the zip file. If you want to extract the zip file, just type unzip and the file name, so that will extract all the files inside the zip file. In this case, the files already exist. If we were to delete those files, all of those files would be extracted once we unzip it. Let's demonstrate that. We will type unzip space squash.zip, press enter. All the files have been extracted from the zip archive. We can easily create an archive. Like a physical archive, an archive can contain many other files. One of the archiving programs is called tar, so type tar space cvf and your file name. I will name the archive example.tar, and it can contain many other files. In comparison, a tar file is similar to a zip file. So an archive file, like a tar file, can contain many other files. So you can collect all of them inside one file. You'll see the file example.tar has been created. It can contain many files, and we can extract a tar file or compressed file archive. And all the files will be extracted, so will be as good as new. The first name is the file name, and it contains all the other files. We can also create a compressed tar archive. We do that by typing the command tar space cvfz, so cvfz, and write your file name. So after cvfz, write your file name, and then .tar.gz, where gz means compressed. Finally, write the files you want to add to the archive. So we'll add example.txt, example2.txt, and animals.txt. So this will just create a compressed tar archive. So instead of a default tar archive, this saves some disk space. If you open either of these archives, you'll see they contain exactly the same files. So why would you create a compressed file? It's just to save disk space. So if we look at the file size, you'll see this one is only 216 bytes and that one is 10 kilobytes. If you compress a file, it becomes a lot smaller, which means it will take less of your disk space. So I recommend going with this command as opposed to the other one. Simply because it saves you a lot of disk space in the end, especially with large files. A zip file is not the only type of archive. We've got two archives here, and these archives contain text files. So let's just delete those text files for now. And we'll have just two archives. We can extract them using the graphical interface or the terminal. If you were to press extract in a graphical interface, they will be extracted. We can extract files from the terminal, so type tar space xvf example.tar. That will extract the tar file. We'll have all the text files with the contents that were inside the archive. Any type of file can be inside an archive, and it can be as many files as you want. In case you want to extract a compressed file, you have to slightly alter the command. So instead type xvfz example.tar.gz. So a .gz is a compressed file. This will extract the compressed file. A tar.gz file always saves you disk space because of the compression. So even this small file saves you from 10 kilobytes to just a few hundreds of bytes. So if you have many big files, it's going to save you a lot of space. We can add a new user using the command add user. To do so, we need to have administrator rights, so type sudo, which gives us administrator rights, and then type the username, so let's say sudo add user Kevin. The program will ask a password. It will then ask more information like full name, roll number. You can skip that if you want. Press yes to save it. Now you can log in with the user Kevin. If you open the home directory in the Explorer, you'll see the user directory Kevin has been added. To change your password, type the command passwd space your username and press enter. In this case my username is Ubuntu, but you may have another username. So that's passwd, press enter. It will ask you for your current password, so enter your current password. Then it will ask you to enter a new password. Type the new password twice and press enter. If the computer thinks you picked a bad password, you'll see it complain about it, as happens in many websites today. So it will want you to pick a good password like capitals and special characters and so on. So if you pick a good password, your password will have changed. Just the command passwd space your username and press enter. There are several commands which we can only execute as super user. Right now we are the Ubuntu user, so not super user, which is just a regular user, so we don't have superpowers. We can't install new drivers or change certain things in the system. The administrator or super user on the Linux system is always called root. The super user has his own home directory called /root. To get there, we enter the file system and go inside the folder root. If we try to open or to enter the directory root, we get the error permission denied because we are not authorized. To execute this command, we need to have administrator rights, so type the command sudo in front and then the command. Type sudo space bash, which is the terminal. So we started the terminal with administrator rights, and we can go inside the root directory and do anything the administrator can do. You'll see also our username has changed to root @ instead of the username Ubuntu @. Just type exit to quit the program. So you can always enter super user mode by sudo space bash. So you can do any command on the system see your Linux distribution, you can type lsb_release space -a. The output of this command will tell you which Linux distribution you are using, the version number, and also the code name. So every Linux distribution version has a code name. This command will output information on your Linux system, so you can easily find if you're using the latest version using the code name or version number. We can type the command history. This command shows us the shell history, so all the commands we have done so far from the beginning of this course shown as a list. So all of the history, these are all the commands we have done from the start. So this command shows all of the lines, all of the previous commands. So just by typing, Linux comes with a stopwatch pre-installed, so on every Linux system. To start it, type the command time, cat, and press the enter key. You won't see any output, so press the Ctrl key and the C key to stop it, then you'll see output. You see the amount of time that has passed. You can use this as a stopwatch, so type time, cat, enter. Press Ctrl C to quit. This trick will work on any Linux system, so Ubuntu, Debian, Red Hat, and any Linux system you can think of. Sometimes you keep repeating commands, typing the same commands over and over. If that's the case, you can create a bash script. It's a program that executes all of your commands. To create a bash script, we'll first open a text editor. Then type all the commands you want the program to execute. So all the commands in your bash script, type them one by one. So I'll just pick some random commands here, just for this demonstration. Then save your program as program.sh, where .sh means shell, so terminal. We created a bash script, so a list of commands in a file. So if we go to the File Explorer and we type ls, or list of files, you'll see the program is inside the directory. However, if we try to execute the program, it doesn't want to start, so we need to change the permissions and give it an execution permission. You can do that using this line, or this command will make the program executable. Start the program we just made, and you'll see it executed all of the commands we have put in the file. You can put any type of commands inside the bash script, and as many as you want. So bash scripts can save you a lot of time. If you have a lot of commands or specific tasks that you want to do, you can just put them in a bash script and they will be executed one by one. So you can create little programs with that. You can pick any file name you want, so any name you pick .sh, and run that as a bash script. Then always use the chmod command line, so the chmod command will give it execution permission and then run the program.